I'm jumping to a question from Carl Taylor, who had asked this of us before. He's wondering what's going on with herringbone selvages. Are they a thing? Are they a thing that you would offer, or are they problematic for mills, or what?
We can offer it only in the single width loom, but it's only done on very rare occasions. It's an expensive item to do. It takes a bit longer and there's a bit more work in it, and we've decided not to run with it like our range. One, it's not really commercial enough, but if somebody wants to come along and design a kilt, prime example was the King. He came along and his kilt has got the herringbone selvage. Yeah, but if you want to have one as well, we can do it. It goes through a single width loom, a bit like what House Egger are running with. It's got the adaptation on it. We can do it.
Now, for the viewers out there, for the record, when he says we can do it, what's the minimum amount of yardage that you would sell as a single width piece?
We could do 120 meters, which is like a 60 meter piece.
So not enough for one kilt, Carl.
No,
that's the point.
It's one kilt.
Exactly. When it comes to short lengths,
yeah,
a lot of mills don't want to do it because it costs a lot. It takes a lot of time to set up the loom, to set up the, to get the warping done. It just I've said to people before, and tell me if I'm right or wrong. A lot of the time in setting up the loom, or in the cost of the cloth, is setting up the loom.
Yeah, 100%.
And getting it through the entire process of, picking out the colors, loading up the machine, getting the warping done up, then getting the weft threads all settled in. Then, you spend in, let's say, a few hours before you even turn the machine on to start weaving.
Yeah, 100%. You do it like from the very start to finish. If it's got specific dyes, the dyeing side of things, then if it comes to the warping. But then when it comes to warping, it doesn't go straight into that loom. You'll need to work out if it's a single with the herringbone selvage. You'll need to make up the calm and do all the hiddles, make it up there. You may find it probably take 3 days to go from it being warped to actually being knotted and ready to go into a loom. And that's not what you've got to say. It's got to be bang
right on.
So
yeah.
It may take almost about 10 days to weave that, get up and running, as opposed to like a double width loom, you could do 80 meters in one day.
Yeah.
There's the commercial side of things, but then if you want it, we can do it, but there's a big minimum.
Yeah,
to make it worth a while.
Yeah, it's the opportunity cost is what it's called in business speak. It's the opportunity cost. What else could they have been doing in the same amount of time they were doing that for you? And that has to factor into the cost, unfortunately. Now, I'm curious. I don't know enough about it, so I'm speaking a little bit out of turn, and I don't know if you know anything about it. What was the provenance? How did herringbone selvage become a thing? When was it a thing? Or Eric, if you have any knowledge on this, if you want to jump in, herringbone selvage on tartans, why was it done, and or when was it done, and or was it always a big pain in the butt to do on like a Dob cross loom or an old, a shuttle style loom versus the newer style rapier looms like you have now?
To be honest, I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't have technical information.
No.
I can speculate that basically is an earlier way of making sure you have a secure selvage.
The edge.
Considering older technologies, making sure that you're actually getting something that was not going to fray.
Right.
Whereas now, because of the pressure you can put on the threads in modern looms and stuff like that, the kinds of selvage we see now do just fine. But back in the day, when the tolerances weren't as good, perhaps herringbone was a way of making sure that it was
a nicer selvage.
Yeah, nicer and solid.
Sounds about
You didn't have to risk it fraying. That's speculation there.
Understood. No, but I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole for a minute. I know like on a Dob cross loom, like an old style shuttle loom with a regular, just a regular twill all the way down to the bottom with the shuttle, getting the tension on each shuttle to be equal across all the shuttles, and the shuttle is basically a little wooden thing that shoots back and forth, and it has thread on it. That's what throws in the weft threads into the loom. Now, and each color has its own shuttle. So once you're weaving Royal Stewart, so it's going back and forth with red, then it changes to blue. So you need a different shuttle to go with the blue. But if the blue or the green or whatever has a different tension on it, then it's going to actually like pull in the edge of the cloth a little bit. So instead of having a nice flat, perfectly, even bottom, it's going to go red, then the blue is going to pull up a little bit, then it goes over to green, then over to red, then back up to the blue, and it's going to just kind of have a little bit of a wave to the bottom of the cloth. Would the herringbone selvage help counteract that potentially?
Yeah, it should.
Okay.
It will.
You know more about weaving than I do.
I'm just trying to visualize it now. Like, yeah, well, because I remember going back, like what Rookie's saying, using the shuttle looms, you had the listings up the side, so you're red and it changing. It all come down to the tension. It was worse if you had like a change of colours, like maybe like 4 or 6 threads. It was really tight. But if it was going over like maybe like 20 threads or more, it had more space, so it wasn't as tight. But if you think the pirn, what was inside the shuttle going back and forward, it's not got the same tension at the very top as it's at the bottom or in the middle, because it's wound on. It's just a loose item.
Yeah.
And every pirn machine was different. There's no. You had a bit.
Pirn machine is the thing that wraps the.
No, the pirn machine was like you got the shuttle. You got the shuttle
Right there. Can't you see it?
Shuttle.
That's the wood
And
shuttle.
inside
It's right
that,
there.
You put your pirn, and that was like your cone of yarn was inside there.
Yeah.
So it was like it's almost like if you think of a pea shooter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pea shooter inside this shuttle, wool wrapped around that, and when it got fired across, there's a little hole at the top of the shuttle. That's what
The thread
drew
would
the
come
thread
out
drew
in.
out. Then, so you had like the uptake when it was sitting still, it went back in, and it went, whew, that was quick. Relax. Then it gets fired back across again, so it like tense up,
Right.
then relaxed. So it's tensed up and relaxed. It went across tense and it relaxed. Yeah?
Okay.
But it was like the pirn was in there. And some of the mills, I remember when I first started in the mill, we had a pirn machine. And there was a tension gauge, you try to make it. But then you're using different, if you're using like fancy yarns, you might use a worsted was like maybe set tension 4. Or if you're doing like a slubby yarn, you might keep the tension quite slack for it's quite a slubby yarn.
Yeah.
So each thing's got to do it different. Like, but when it's firing back and forward, you can't slow it down or speed it up the loom. It
just goes.
Goes when it goes. Then with the idea of the new rapier looms, it's on a selector, so it winds itself into a spool off the cone, and it's held on at tension. So when it comes off the selector into the loom, every thread's exactly the same. And
Yeah.
it's set up like that. And the idea is we get the selvage nice, we've got a tuck-in selvage, and the herringbone selvage is it's like the old-fashioned version of a tuck-in.
Yeah.
And you're getting a nice edge,
Yeah.
which should be straight.
Should.
What you're saying is, I was right.
Indeed.
Yeah,
No,
you're right.
you helped suss it out there. Very good. Very good.
And me,
Cheers.
my hands, like, doing think,
Yeah.
back to kind of,
Exactly. Rapier looms up here, shuttles down here. We got to remember that. Yes.
I think it'd be quite dodgy trying to bring a shuttle through customs might be a wee bit interesting. And the varying size, because sometimes I've got a couple on my desk that are like, it's like for people's like a hand loom.
Right. So
Like
you just need
for
a
like
small, tiny one.
a small tiny one. It's only probably a year wide. You get a little.
Little baby shuttles.
But then I've got like there's like an 18-inch one, and it's like it's a monster.
Right.
So if you can imagine that's getting fired back and forward, it will clatter back and forth. And that's like the noise in the old weaving sheds was so bad, is with these things knocking back and forward.
Right.
And if you think you've got 6 colours in every loom, and they're all going at different speed or different times,
Yep.
it will be quite noisy,
Indeed.
like a Led Zeppelin concert, full blast.
Led Zeppelin concert. How old are you? No, actually, how old are you? I'm curious.
54.
54? Okay. I'm not that far behind you. I'm catching up.
So I left school at 16 and I finished on the Friday and started in the mills on the Monday.
Nice.
So being in Celtic, you could do that. You could like finish schools. And the idea is you went there, there's plenty of jobs and it was quite secure.
Right.
Then the world changes a little bit like so.
Well, you're still here. You're still standing.
Yeah. And it's like I said before, like having dinner with all the other textile companies. It's like being at school again. Like there's so much information out there.
Oh, I know. I know.
And
That's the beautiful thing and scary thing simultaneously is having all the knowledge and seeing like the people who actually know all these things, the institutional knowledge that is held in this industry in a small group of people. Knowing those people is actually really, really cool. It's also scary as hell because we have what we call the hit by a bus rule here at USA Kilts, where if anyone gets hit by a bus, we have to make sure there's someone who else can do that particular thing. So that scares me about the industry, but it's also really awesome to know and like watch those people converse and interact. Yeah.
It's great. But it's weird because you get some visitors into the factory, like, and it's like a family coming down, the grandparents are there. And you may have found the grandparents worked in the mill years ago. And in the principle, exactly the same, like the warping's never really changed. And come to the weaving, and they're like, "Oh, it's gone a bit quicker now, son." Because like
Hopefully
they're going like the looms that we run are about 400, like 550 picks per minute. So it's going a full old lick. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, and it's
was it Dob Cross like 125? Was it?
It's night and day. Like we
Yeah.
see it, but then it's a
And the single width is about 250 picks per minute. Yeah.
but it's magical listening to it. Like, and I remember like listening to some of the old like the mills when the shuttle looms were working. You could hear them miles away, like, and you could hear the noise. You go down to the weaving shed with us. The noise is there. But it's slightly different. It's like it's still,
It's quieter.
it's quieter, but then it's going a heck of a lot quicker.
Yeah. It's more of a hum. Yes. Okay. So let me know down in the comments. Traditional styles, traditional artifacts of the weaving process, maybe like Herringbone Selvedge. Should Loch Heron offer these? And why should Keith be the one to tell Dawn, his boss, that they have to do this for every kilt from now on? Obviously, I'm kidding. We're not going to do that. But do you have any interest in historical tartan styles and historical weaving patterns?